Welcome, people. It's Mr. back again with the Forest chat. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yeah, it's the last stream of the season, but I wanted to do something different. Get you lot involved. Talk about Nottingham Forest season and get your opinion on how you felt from the start of the season. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be your favourite moment, it could be anything that would say. Glenn will ask you the questions. I've got my co-host as well. Glenn, how you feeling, Glenn?
Yeah, very well, mate. Just after I'm on half term this week, so my voice isn't being tested on a daily basis. I'm not going to lie. Sunday night, Monday, after what was it, 150 rounds of that song, which I'm still singing as I'm waiting at traffic lights. My foot's tapping. My voice is coming back, so just in time for this stream. Thank you, Dore. Thanks for inviting me on.
So people show some love to Glenn if you can, and people like to them. I've got quite a lot of people in backstage. So if I said we do it between 8 and 9, but if you do want to come on with no people backstage, please do. I will put the link at the end of the stream if we get to the last person. But there's quite a lot of people in, so do like 5 minutes to each one. Me and Glenn will ask the questions to the Forest fans. But if you do want to come on, just message me on Twitter, Instagram, or email me straight as soon as, or I will put the link in the chat. So please do and get involved as well. Whatever Glenn or me says, like I said, whatever you want to say. Right, but before you do, please do hit the like button. If you can do a massive favor for me, please do hit the subscribe button as well. Like I said, it's the last live stream for the season done. I might do a few more streams as well, Forest related stuff. So if you can do a massive favor for me, please do hit the subscribe button. Right, Glenn, are you ready for the first one?
Yeah, who is it?
Right, first one. You know what? I remember this guy is actually a legend. David Bordeaux. I can see you in the background. He's absolutely nutcased. So, people in the chat, if you do remember, if you know this guy.
Come on!
Yes, mate.
I've got a very key piece of information actually for you, Mr. Dore.
What's that?
Firstly, can I say it's glorious that I'm still in the intro.
Oh, yes.
I'm still in the intro, so thank you. And you look maybe 5 years older than when I saw you last year, so you've aged a little bit, buddy.
Yeah. Listen to me, David. I thought we were mates.
We are mates. We are mates. No, the key turning point was when I realised that I wasn't watching enough DoreOnTour, and so I logged into the Liverpool match, and I said I'm going to watch every minute from then on because that was when last season turned around, and then literally from that moment on, we just got back to the come on.
Oh, David, before we get to the questions, tell everyone where you're from.
So I'm from Sydney. I'm currently actually in New York. So I had the pleasure of going down to the Smithfield Hall with the New York City supporters group on Sunday, which was a terrific bar setup and a terrific area. And the guys are so welcoming and such a different experience for me sitting with people from Nottingham. And, you know, we all sat at the tables together and they're all introducing themselves to each other. And then they say, why is this Aussie fool kind of sitting there? And then I kind of retell the story of how I watched Forest versus Luton in that League Cup final in the 80s. And then obviously that unfortunate FA Cup final and then how I got into Forest. So that was a lot of fun. So I got to say this season for me has been terrific. I hope you guys can understand me. Do you guys need Glenn to translate or are we okay?
Nah, we don't. We can fully understand you, David. We can fully understand you.
So this season, I've watched more Forest matches live this season than I have in 25 years because just the coverage is so much better. So I pretty much watched, you know, I'd get up at 2 a.m. and watch the matches and then watch the highlights. And then my kind of key subject, and I heard Glenn, you running through the questions, and I will gladly answer that Taiwo Awoniyi was clearly the player and buyer of the season. However, I want to talk about Nottingham Forest YouTube landscape and all the different YouTubers that now exist because I don't watch regular TV anymore. I watch DoreOnTour. I watch the angriest man on YouTube, Wolverine. Oh God, that guy. Obviously, the seriousness of Garibaldi Red. They're still gorgeous, beautiful Max. And so it's kind of categorizing them into.
Don't forget Rads.
Don't forget Rads.
Rads in there.
Oh yeah, there is Rads still. I haven't gotten into him as much.
You've got to get David. Shout out to Rads. Get into Rads. He's a top guy.
I'll get into Rads. But this is how I kind of broke them down into the different sections. So the Garibaldi Red podcast is very serious, and Fletcher's like a bit angry, and everyone gets angry at him. Then you've got the feel good of match day with Max. then you've got the angry rumors of Wolverine and like all of that stuff. And I think 5% of what he says is just too out there. But, you know, sometimes he does have some good points on the strategy. I quite like Wolverine. But the best one, of course, is DoreOnTour, because it's all about the mateship and the experience, right? And so, you know, you kind of like, God, when you're watching that thing and you see Dore sitting there going, terrible. Like, I hadn't seen you be that upset with the team before. And so,
which game? Which game was it, David? Which game was it? There's been a few. There's been a few.
There's been a few. There's one where you just cracked and you're just like, horrible, terrible, pathetic. Like, you put it in your season highlights thing. I can't remember what else. You were so annoyed.
Was it Villa away?
I think it might have. It was one of the away ones, yes.
Villa, Leeds, like, 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah. Just heartbreak. So,
it had Kazoo behind it, so it must have been Villa.
Must have been Villa away.
So that's been terrific. And then look, you know, turning up to my football team and, you know, them talking about how, you know, one of the guys made the comment, which was, oh, if Neymar or someone like that does that Gibbs White flick, it's on memes and on Twitter and everywhere on the internet. But because it's a Forest player and it's only Gibbs White, no one cares. Now, I thought this was a major moment because the guys in my football team suddenly knew the Forest players, which was just awesome. And then I actually think the key moment was when Henderson got injured and we got Navas in. I actually think that was a massive game changer. And just in terms of his profile and the prestige of that guy, like, I was watching a YouTube clip the other day, most famous people from every country around the world. And the Queen is obviously, was the most famous person in England, Donald Trump. And then when they get to Costa Rica, it's Keylor Navas. He is their country's most famous person ever. And some of the parries were a bit not great, but some of those matches, he kept us in it. And his just calmness and dealing with it, I think was terrific. So, I would say Navas maybe just not quite as good as Taiwo.
You've answered most of our questions already, David. Glenn, any more questions for David?
So you said you just started watching Forest again this season at Liverpool. Is that right? The home.
No, so Glenn, in Australia, we're in the Championship. You don't get to see the matches.
Right.
So when Forest went up to the Premier League, I went from being able to see one match every 2 months because we can't get the coverage to being able to watch every single match. So I would always follow and always watch. And whenever they were on the Championship, you know, key matches that were shown in Australia, I was always watching. And I remember Dore last season talking with me about, you know, when I was at my sadly Dore ex-girlfriend's place, watching the Championship final and her getting the SHITS.
Are you blaming? I know it's going deep, but are you blaming Forest for his breakup?
Well, maybe it's because I didn't take her to a Forest game this season. It was perhaps
that is bad. That is bad.
Well, yes. And then I took her to Paris and didn't propose, and that was a whole thing. But we don't need to do a relationship show. So anyway,
no, this is not the Graham Torrington show. No,
this is not the relationship show. But anyway, so I've actually got this. This is my marketing pitch for Nottingham Forest and the Forest fans. Actually, this is my big thing. So I'm from Sydney, and Sydney competes on the city stage, London, New York, Tokyo. We're obsessed with trying to be a big city, right? Yeah. Melbourne, which is another city in Australia, tries to compete with Sydney, but Melbourne sucks, right? So Nottingham Forest is Sydney. Okay. Oh, you still got me? Yeah. Nottingham Forest is Sydney. So what Nottingham Forest should be doing, we shouldn't be worrying about Derby or Notts County or taking any notice of them. We are an international football team. We should be obsessed with beating Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester United and Manchester City. And so the negativity and the angst, and so me being a non-Nottingham person, I don't give two hoots about Derby. And so we shouldn't care.
Who doesn't? You're mentioning David. Now you're talking about him. You just come on, mate, man.
We all know Villa are our nearest rivals now, anyway, don't we?
Exactly. Well, Sheffield United.
No, Manchester City are our nearest rivals. Why aren't we going for the gold? Like, we should just be like Liverpool were out for my era. Liverpool were the rivals, and so I'm just trying to, you know, just get us around because I have it. Yeah.
So on that, in terms of the 38 points we got this season, where do you think we'll finish, and where do you think the points will improve with hope next season? Where do you think with that kind of mindset, where we can start competing with those larger teams, what do you think we'll get out next season?
So obviously, look, we were in so many winning positions in so many matches. And so looking back at it, actually, if you just focus on the matches versus Bournemouth and, we take the points across them, then we move up a couple. So I think we should be sitting around 10th and jagging a few extra points. We've got the nucleus of a strong team. We're obviously not going to sign 29 players this time. So we should be looking to sign, 5 or 6 players who will make instant, Felipe level impact. Instant, immediately the top guy in the team. And so, if they're not that good, then we're better off sticking with, Lewis O'Brien and Toffolo and those sort of guys, because those guys were good. And then as soon as we got Jonjo in, like, you could just see the kind of psyche of the team just kind of changed a little bit with Jonjo coming in. And I must say, of all the football teams I've ever seen, Nottingham Forest this season were the most predictable team. You knew when they were going to score. You knew we were going to beat Arsenal 1-0, but you also knew when we're ahead 2-1 and the other team's going to score. You just see it coming, like, we're going to bottle this. You just know. So,
it's interesting. When we were at games, you get that sensation. The fact it's gone several sort of 30-odd thousand miles around the world through the screen, it's interesting. You get the same feeling as well. We get that sensation in the ground.
You just know. And then you just stupidly go and you lose 3-2 to someone. And then you're like, go watch DoreOnTour, bloody Matchbog. And you're like, yep, he picked at the same time that I did. And now I'm just reliving the same damn emotions from watching that game again. And you're like,
that's Fulham at home.
Oh, yeah, that one was good. This is so back to my marketing pitch. This is what I want Nottingham Forest fans and the club to focus on. We need to be the number 2 team for half of the Premier League supporters. Does that make sense?
Yes. Number one.
No. We can't be number 1. So of 50% of people that watch the Premier League, which is obviously millions and millions and millions, we want to be everyone's, or 50% of the people's second favourite team. So everyone always, I kind of like Forest, because that'll help with the TV ratings and just make us feel this goodwill around us. And I feel like we've got the fan base and like the goodwill, and like that 2 couple that I met at Smithfield Hall, they were so lovely. And, we were giving each other advice around getting around New York. Like, that's what we want to be as Forest fans. Like, we don't want to be hooligans, and we just want to be nice people. And like the chanting and the stuff that you guys have, like that Palace match, that was just unbelievable, like, to watch.
Crazy.
Like
mental.
That's just, like, even I'm singing that damn Africa song. I've never even heard that song before.
It was all.
I've heard it millions of times now.
It was from after the game, before the game, after the game. It was all throughout. It was crazy. David,
one last question: did you just pick that song up, or the fans just picked that up because the team sang it?
The players. It was
the players sang it in the dressing room the week before.
Yeah,
and so then. That just sounds pretty good. So, God, what a great season. And thank you for your contribution to my Forest watching, Mr. Dore. It is a pleasure. It's,
David, before you do go, because we've got quite a lot of people, what's your opinion on Steve Cooper?
I think here's my genuine opinion is, with us staying up with Steve Cooper as the manager, offered us greater upside than if we'd have sacked Steve Cooper and gotten a Big Sam type character in and then stayed up. Because if we get Big Sam in, we stay up, then we need to go get a new manager. Whereas, the stories that, like, you hear the Fergie, he was going to get sacked if they didn't beat Palace. He beats Palace, they survive, they go on a bit of a run, and then they have their kind of guy. And so, you can see that Steve Cooper is a little inexperienced tactically at times, and he doesn't make mistakes with his nuances of what he says to the media and the way he deals with the players, but tactically he has improved. So he is, like, who's going to be better? Like, Marinakis maybe bungled his words when he said, I had no one else better to put in. But I've always subscribed to the thinking, if there is someone who'd be better than me out there in a job, go get him, because I don't want to stand in the way. So my thought was, I was so pleased that they stuck with Cooper. I could have understood if they'd have sacked him, but if they'd have done a Leicester and sacked the manager and had no one else, then
David, don't mention Leicester, because
sorry.
I've been the Leicester fans think I've been saying this. I'm the victim. They're the bullies. I'm the victim. Even Glenn knows I'm the victim. So Leicester fans, don't mention.
Well, they weren't any good until they got a Forest legend to be their captain. So, you know, like, what do you want?
Just every time you mention them, they get upset. That's why
Well, you know.
Today I've not mentioned Leicester City, but here's what it is.
Well, there's a whole bunch of YouTubers that have now got looking for work because no one will be watching the Leicester City YouTube channels anywhere near as much anymore.
Any Leicester fans who want to do some graphic designing for me, then you can just DM me if you want.
The lady who did the music for your last video,
didn't
catch her name.
I know.
I'll put you on the spot here because you should know her name. Now.
Top lady she is.
Anyway, there's going to be a link to some of her YouTube channel, and all the DoreOnTour fans go and watch her channel. Go and support her because that rendition.
One. That's it. Shout out to Juan. That's it. Shout out to Juan.
Busted.
Juan.
Oh God, so busted. So anyway, look, sacking Cooper was never going to work. So I'm glad they didn't. The upside that we'll get. Let's get to 12th, and then let's go for 7th, and then.
David, before the season starts, like I said, I will do some stuff. But when you come on, you do a scope your league position before the season starts. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Deal, my friend.
This guy's
I tried to get to a match this season, but I couldn't quite make it work. So next season, I will definitely get to a match. You know, I'm undefeated. I've never seen Forest lose or draw when I've been present live. And so if we'd have needed to beat Palace, I would have dropped everything and spent whatever it cost to get there. So it wasn't necessary. So I will save that one up for when we need to beat Palace on the last day to win the Premier League.
Legend. Absolutely legend. David, it's been a pleasure. All the way from New York.
New York, Sydney, New York via Sydney. But pleasure. Keep up the good work, guys. And sorry, Glenn, I didn't answer any of your questions. I'm sure the next person will actually.
It's great to hear your passion.
Tackle of the season was Joe Worrell. Tackle of the season was Joe Worrell. Signing of the season was Taiwo. Taiwo is clearly our best player, and he is just the Glamazon human. How attractive is he as a man? And he doesn't goal celebrate. He's just he's just a beautiful human, isn't he? And I worked out why the Forest shop sold out is because they got Felipe in the photos.
Legend, David. I do appreciate that you coming on and
pleasure,
take care.
Guys.
And I'll see you for your score prediction to start the season.
Sounds good. Come on, you Reds. Come on.
Love the Reds. Come on.
Yes, David. Take care, buddy.
Absolutely legend.
Everybody else has got. Keep that passion enthusiasm going, everybody.
Oh, absolutely legend, David. All the way from New York. And people know me. He was on my channel at the start of last season with me and Craig, and he had so much big character. And like I said, he's absolutely legend. Right, there's 61 people in. If you do massive favor, please do hit the like button. Right, next up, who can we have next? Bertus, you ready? He's ready. All the way from Canada. He's a legend. People in the background, don't worry, I will get you on. There's so many people. I'm just having a time scale on everyone. But Bertus, you're next. Hello, my friend.
Hey.
Nice to see you both.
How you doing?
Well, there's my dog. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Bertus, if no one knows who you are, tell everyone where you're from.
I am from Alberta, Canada.
Legend. Everyone, people know who he is. He's always on his channel as sometimes come from review shows. But Glenn, ask away.
So over the course of the season, then, what was the significant moment that you? Did you think that we were going to stay in the Premier League? And were there any points? I'll ask you this first. Were there any points where your kind of thoughts might have gone to being a bit more concerned than perhaps? Or are you a pretty confident guy, aren't you? Pretty positive guy, anyway.
You know what? I always try to look at it game to game, and Des had said at the beginning of the season, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so, as long as Forest mathematically could stay up, I was confident that they could do it. Now that confidence got a little shaky towards the end of the season, where there was a lot of injuries, but overall, I wasn't in a doom or gloom sort of place. And then when Forest started to get players healthy and getting a consistent lineup, I had started tracking lineups and going, okay, when did we ever have a consistent lineup? And it just didn't, I think prior to us getting into good form recently, like twice in the season, we had the same lineup twice in a row. And when we started to get consistent again and have players back in and they could start to gel, then I started to get confident again. You could just feel it. There was a turning point. I forget what, I think it was the United loss where there was one loss where it got really negative on social media. And so there were like fans and were really going after each other. But after I think it was just that moment in time, it was just like this. Everyone was just so frustrated with things where it had been going. Right. And it was at that point that Forest started to pick it up. I think like Brennan Johnson headed in with fans at an away game. And so it seemed like that was the turning point for me in the season. Either the team was going to collapse and it was going to be relegation, or it was going to be galvanized. And I do feel that the majority of fans have remained positive and have been pretty rational throughout this whole process. So to answer your question, I wasn't doom and gloom the whole season. When we started to really lose towards the end of the season, that was a little stressful, but overall I thought we did okay.
Yeah, I'm with you there in terms of the performance at Liverpool away, and then the win against Southampton and Brighton, and the return of certain key players that kind of settled in that squad of starting sort of 13, 14 with Brennan on and off a little bit, right? So who was that player, do you think, the returning injured players that may have the most sort of significant impact for you?
I think Taiwo for sure was huge. I don't think Forest... I don't think we go into the Palace matchup safe if Taiwo's not in the lineup. I think Niakate and just those long throw-ins like that was getting him back in. And I think he came back roughly around that time period. So those guys getting healthy, I think the at the front and the back of things really, really kind of turned the season around. I think
definitely. Then
players like Gibbs White had an outlet. Johnson had an outlet, and it wasn't there was more options, more opportunities. And at the back, it didn't feel so desperate. And just like the team developed into a sense of an identity of like, you know what, we're going to put everybody back and defend except for one player for 90% of the game, because we know that we'll get those opportunities and we've got players in place that can take those opportunities now. Whereas a number of weeks ago, that just wasn't happening. So
cool. I don't know if it's, are you losing my signal, Dore?
No,
I feel
fine.
like
No.
Oh, is it me?
I don't know. I'm just feeling
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're both fine.
Awesome.
You're both fine.
Couple of quick questions then. Where did you think we were going to start at the season? In terms of where do you think we were going to finish when you were sort of coming up with an idea back in July, August? Because I went for 12th. And arguably, had Taiwo not been injured and a couple of others, then you could argue that that was certainly on. But where did you think we were going to finish at the start of the season?
I think on your stream, Dore, I had two answers. My heart at the time had said like 12, 13, and my head said like that 17, 18 spot where I thought we were just going to be on the cusp. And so the season kind of started out, I think at one point Forest were in 10th place. And I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe things are going to be really great. But then the team kind of came back down to earth and finished where I think the team really should have finished. It was always going to be a struggle.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And goal of the season for you? What do you think?
Oh,
loads have been there. Loads. Quite a few.
There's been so many.
You know what? The goal, it's not impact. But the nicest one I think I saw was Renan Lottie with that one kick against I forget who it was at the beginning of the season, but it was that.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. One against the Spurs, and I think it won the goal of the round.
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it was goal of the round. That one was my favorite, just like look of the goal. I think the one that made me like jump up and scream the loudest was either the one against City
Everyone's like, you know what? Every Forest fan talks about it, but no one else does. What's annoying?
The one against City.
Yeah, everyone talks
Yeah.
about it, but the mainstream media don't.
That one was just brilliant. It's again, that was 99% possession and control of of play, and it really felt like Muhammad Ali against Frazier, and just like, not that Forrest were Ali in any sense of the word, but just like that, we're going to take one shot at the end of this game. We're going to hold on until just the end, and it may fail. We're going to lose anyways. Or we're going to just take that one shot. So that goal, or the goal against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Just the impact of it, and just like what it felt. Because then knowing that like Arsenal are a tough team, even if they can get a goal back, that's still a point. So it put Forrest in such a much better, and just the confidence that can build as well.
Cool. And then obviously you watching from Canada, you get the streams and stuff, right?
Yes. So it's cheaper for me now. It's because last season I watched every game, but I had to watch on Forest TV. So that's like $15 a month or something like that. On top of, I was also getting the Premier League. So now it's just one package. So I was able to watch every single game. And what's cool, I don't know if you get this with your coverage, but I have them all saved now. Like on our streaming package, they save, and we can save up to 1,000 hours. So I can go back and watch any of the games and just keep them saved on there. So the coverage has been really cool. And what we get is we don't have TalkSport, we don't have Sky Sport over here, so we don't get a lot of those pundits. We get some, but we get them on like Premier League, their productions, so the international version. So it's been really cool following it this season, just being able to watch the coverage, and it's about this team, because I didn't get to see any pundits really ever talk about Forest last season because we didn't get any of that stuff. So
right. And which game, if I could just pick you up and drop you in a stadium, would you have wanted to see?
I think
comments. Get involved. Get involved.
Yeah.
What are we saying? Get involved.
If you weren't,
the one I wish I could have been at was the Arsenal win. Like that would have been. From what I've read online and sort of just experienced watching it, that one from people have said is just as good as Wembley. And I believe it, because you could just feel it through the TV. And I saw somewhere on Instagram, there was an expert in sound.
97 decibels, right?
Yeah, 97, like the
It
top stadium in the entire division. So that's, well, probably in the entire country. Yeah, I would want to go to that game, or just the fun experience at Palace. Like just to go to a truly, how often has that occurred in Forest history where there's a truly meaningless game where like it doesn't really matter?
I bet we didn't care. It was just a mental. People, the Forest fans who went, it was just a mad party, crazy party. But yeah, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for taking your time to come on the channel, and again, thank you for coming on throughout the season as well, because you took your time to come out on the channel.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for doing what you do and putting out the content, because it helps the people who live all over the world feel connected to, and I do mean it, like feel connected to actually people from around the world. Yeah, so I'm Forest through and through now, and I just want to point out that I've been a fan of Forest since July of 21. And since July of 21, this team has had pretty good fortunes. They got promoted and they stayed in the league. So I'm maybe one of the most fortunate Forest fans in the world, because I haven't experienced the loss and the heartache that many. So I'm very lucky, and maybe I'm the good luck charm. So
at least you haven't suffered getting relegated to from the Premiership anyway. So at least you haven't suffered. So but it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for taking your time on coming on my channel.
Thank you guys.
Right, peace and love, my friend. See you later.
See you next season.
Absolutely legend, this guy. He does a few review shows as well, after the game reviews, and he's a legend. Come back from the 2021 in January. Come on, so absolutely legend. Glenn, next one.
Yeah, who we got? Is it international or is it a national?
I was thinking.
We're going to go for another continent.
I think we've got to get it international. Chris, the legend, he's got his tie on. I think he's sitting in the boot. Chris, are you ready, Chris? Sorry, people in the background, there's quite a lot of people, so I will get you on. Please don't go. Please don't go. There's quite a lot. Chris, are you ready? Here he is.
I want
Chris, how you doing?
Yes, Chris.
This is the season finale. I want to dress accordingly.
Actually, a legend.
Nice.
Chris, tell everyone where you're from, Chris.
From New Jersey, North Jersey, right across the river from New York City, and been following the Reds since the late '70s. So these last 2 years have been a goddamn roller coaster ride.
Right.
Yes. So, what's your thoughts on from the whole season and Steve Cooper?
I think, to me, the season was like if you looked at it, it was like a theatrical production, it was like a 4-act play. I mean, with all these twists and turns and characters coming and going, and with it finally the at the very end there was this plot twist that none of us, I think, probably could have seen, because you guys have been talking about, like, to the different guests, like, well, did you wobble at all? And I have to admit, like, coming out of the international break, I thought it was going to be our best chance. We had 3 games against teams, at least on paper, that we could play against, and we didn't. I think we got 1 point out of those, and then we were really going to the meat of the run up to the end of the season. I just, at that point, I couldn't see it happening, and little did I think any of us know that beneath the surface that stuff was improving. But at that point, I have to admit, I thought we were done. I really did.
Glenn?
So when you started becoming a Forest fan in the 70s, where were you in the world? Were you in the UK or in Jersey?
Now, I've always been in America and grew up in North Jersey. So I was a fan of the New York Cosmos. They were in the now defunct North American Soccer League. And I just became footy mad. And the public television station started broadcasting one English game highlights on the weekends. And that was the season that Forest had came up, and they were the plucky underdogs. And I remember the first game I saw was they played Liverpool in the League Cup final, and no one thought they had a chance. And I just became hooked. That was my team. And so I got in at a good time. Like, going back to Albertus, got in at a good time. But I've certainly seen a share of the dark ages. And so this is what it's been so rewarding, at least from 3,000 miles away, to share through social media with Dore. And I have to thank you, Dore, for what you do for the whole Forest community. I mean, I don't know if you make any money off this, but you put out great content. You have the guys that are on the show are so knowledgeable and so passionate. Like, guys like myself, I really feel like linked to the Forest community, like I never had before in my life. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chris. I do appreciate that. Any more questions for Chris?
Do you get over to the UK to watch any games, Chris?
I have not been out yet. It's on my bucket list to do. Hopefully next season. I got a wedding to pay for, but on the other side of that,
you married.
If I can get a ticket, I don't know these days if I could get into that place, to the City Ground. It seems like the hottest ticket in town.
It's pretty tough.
That atmosphere at the Arsenal game, I got to say, I mean, it was on television. It was compelling. Even my wife, who just kind of like is a Forest widow, she'll see me watching, and she was taken by, like, these guys are crazy. Like, and I was thinking the Premier League has to be happy that we're staying up, because what Forest fans have brought to the party, if you want to look at like being invited to a party, well, the fan base has brought, not only for the team and how it's equated to helped us get over the line, but in terms of like Forest games being a spectacle. Many of them are featured on the game of the week here on television, because it's such a great spectacle with the City Ground. It's really stands out. I mean, I don't know if you could count any other team support that is off the charts like that.
Yeah.
People actually know about Nottingham Forest. I have friends who are like soccer fans, and they've never even heard of Nottingham Forest. But now that we're in the Premier League, they've seen some of their games and go, "Oh wow, this team is really something."
You tell him, Chris.
Yeah, you keep telling him.
You keep telling him, Chris. You keep telling him.
Yeah. I wore a Forest shirt to the Home Depot. It's a big home improvement store yesterday, and some person said, "Hey, Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I saw you guys." Like, wow,
that's awesome.
That's
keep wearing your Forest shirt.
Any more questions, Chris? Glenn? Chris?
What are your
Just the one,
your
just the
thoughts
one.
on next season? 30 players aren't really an ideal thing to consider. How many more do you think we need, and where on the field?
I think we've built the foundation of a spine. It took a torturous process to finally identify it. But I'll be surprised if we're as active in the transfer market as we were in last summer, even in January. I'd like to see us maybe go in for some fewer players, but of higher quality to augment what we've identified now as a really solid core. Because I think you've seen over this last course of the season, we were, even when we were losing, and we always found a way to lose, it seemed, most of the time, we weren't getting blown out. Like 5-0, 6-0 back in the season. Those were some really terrible results. But even when we were losing, like you start to see like the Liverpool game 3-2, we were in these games. So, and towards the end of the season, we got points at Chelsea, home against Arsenal, the second best team in the land. So I don't, knock on wood, I don't think there's as much work that needs to be done as some might think, but still, it's probably going to be an adventure knowing Forest.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. The first half of the season is where the majority of the goals against went. But the first 19 games, we scored 20 points. The second 19 games, we scored 18 points. So actually fewer in the second half of the season, but fewer goals against. Actually, in the end, that made a big difference to us staying up, right?
Yeah, and we nicked points. We got some real difficult points. We tied Man City. There's a point there. We got 4 points against Brighton. Those all added up, and at the end of the day, they're all created equal, all the points. So it was an incredible season. Dore, I know you got a lot of guys on backstage. I'm going to bow out. Thank you so much for what you do. And
Thank you, Chris, for taking the time to come out to watch the channel throughout the season. I really appreciate it, dude.
All right, thanks again. We'll see you in August.
I'll see you in August, my friend. Thank you, Chris.
Have a good summer.
See you later, dude. That's Chris, the legend, from all the way in America. He's been supporting my channel for a long, long time. So shout out to Chris. I did want thing on, but it seems like he's gone. So next up, here is Jonathan. Right, Jonathan, you ready? Oh, he's ready. Here he is. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Mr. Dore. How are you? Hello, Glenn. How are you?
Hello, mate. Not bad. You?
How's your hangover from Sunday?
Well, I didn't have a hangover because I had to drive because I live in Cheltenham, and so I travel up from there. So I didn't have a hangover. I had a headache banging with Waka Waka AA. And I almost got a headache from all the Palace fans attacking me wearing my tutu that I was wearing on Sunday.
Unbelievable too. Let me ask you, Jonathan, like, as a Forest fan, like you've been to games like me and Glenn, what's your feeling? Like, we stayed up with all the pressure that we've had with Steve Cooper, the 30 signings. What's your verdict on it?
It's interesting. I've managed to get on 5 Live on 606 3 times this year, ringing on 3 different phones. That's the way to get on there. Don't use the same phone. So I've got people to drive me to the game and ring up 3 times. And I went to
legend.
But I went to the Spurs game, and I remember going on after that, lost 2-0 at home. But you know what? I was just enjoying the ride, and I was saying it's about having fun. Yeah. And interesting, just before we came on the show, it was like I was watching a clip from Wembley, and Steve Cooper was talking to the players, and he said, what's most important is family. And then he said, we're in the Premier League. And I think that's what Steve Cooper's done. And he's just made it, it's just brilliant to be there. And you know what, he's right. Family is the most important thing. And you know what, the players were silent. In a dressing room after you've just won the championship final, they were absolutely silent, and that's what he's got. He's just a legend. He's brilliant. He gets Forest through and through. He loves the town, loves the team, and
Well, before Glenn did ask question, like that's the game. Like, what was your opinion on like lost 4-0? And everything. Was you in the mindset of thinking, "Oh, he's got to go," or was you one of the fans thinking, "Yeah, you want him to stay"?
It had to stay. I mean, ultimately, like they were all saying, 30 players, 29 players. I mean, I'm not sure. Did we get 29 or 30?
30.
Because 30 players. I mean, he had to rebuild a squad. Everyone goes, oh, why did he buy it? Well, we didn't have any players, did we? I mean, we lost all our loan signings and he had to rebuild a team. So ultimately, I think actually the World Cup really helped because he had that time. You know, there was no African Nations Cup, which I know we've got to worry about next year. I've seen that on the thing. We're going to lose. That's a big worry. So you know what? He had time to build a team. His pre-season involved what? He didn't have a pre-season properly. And so therefore he had to have time to build that team. And, you know, to work out the way he was going to play, you know, in the Premier League, it's a completely different ball game to playing in the Championship. So he needed to have time. You know, you saw those results. I remember watching them beat Palace 1-0 at home and then going to the World Cup. You know, we were in the right place. And I think that I was absolutely 100% behind Steve Cooper. I mean, Marinakis, I mean, I'm surprised he stuck with him, I have to say. You know, his history of managers, not just at Forest, but you look at Olympiacos, who he's been at for years, his history of managers is bonkers. But he stuck with Cooper, and that absolutely was the right decision. No question. Always with him.
Yeah.
Glenn?
So with the pre-season, as you rightly said, it looks like we're going to have a first pre-season with Cooper at the helm for a year or two. Where do you think we'll play? Because the majority of the sort of top dozen seem to be playing in the States or Singapore, Japan. Who do you think will play and where? Because at the moment there aren't, other than county, there aren't that many games.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Mr. Dore, you went to Germany on tour, didn't you? Derek, and my mate Derek, who's
Derek, I keep seeing Derek.
He wanted to give him.
Derek the legend.
Derek the legend.
Here it is. Ben, please, can you hi, Johnny? Yes, he's here. Sorry there, Derek. Legend. Legend.
You know, I actually think we'll probably go to Germany and Greece again because I don't think they thought we were going to stay up. I think those pre-season tours were decided a long time ago. You know, I mean, I know Wrexham have got somewhere in America as well because they've got Ryan Reynolds. But I think those tours, I think we're sort of, you know, they've decided those. So I think we'll go to Germany and I think we'll probably do Greece again because I think Olympiacos, he likes to do the link. He likes that.
I don't want to go Olympiacos again, lad.
Spain? Valencia?
No, I don't want to go Olympiacos. I've heard a few things that we might be going to, but I don't want to blast them out till, yeah. I'll say that later on in the show when we know where we're going. What start of season, Jonathan? Where did you thought Forest would finish?
You know what? It's interesting. Of course, I wanted to stay in the Premier League, but I've followed Forest for years, you know, but my first season ticket was the champion, was 2021, you know, when we got promoted. Thank goodness. My son had one for like 6 years. You know what? I just thought and that's what I said on 6 or 6. I enjoyed the ride. Do you know what I mean? Staying up was just out of my wildest dreams in a way, you know. And I think, you know, you look at all the pundits and yeah, I know who knows what the pundits say, but you know what? With what he had to deal with, staying up was just amazing. So I didn't really go where I'm going to think we're going to finish. I just wanted to enjoy every game. I wanted to sort of go and think, you know, be at every match and, you know, and enjoy being there in a way. It wasn't really about where we finished. It was about having got there, going to games and just enjoying the atmosphere, watching players like, you know, Navas play for us. That's ridiculous. Watching Salah, you know, watching players of that ability, De Bruyne and people like that. That was sort of the enjoyment. So I didn't really think about where we were going to finish, really.
Jonathan, do you think that's part of the special nature of the Forest fans in terms of the ride that we've had and the less of the concern perhaps about where we finish mid-table or whether towards Europe and the ride then leads towards the atmosphere that's created in the games?
Yeah, I think because we've had so long, it's like 23 years, isn't it? I mean, we had so long out of it. It was like, you know, we finally got to the Premier League. What we're going to do, we're going to be, we've got to stay out. Or we're going to enjoy every minute of whatever we get, however long we stay up for, which made the sort of, like you said, at Palace, Mr. Dore, oh my life, the atmosphere there. My son, we went to Wembley last year. We've been to loads of games. Yeah. He said, Dad, that was the best atmosphere ever. And it felt, it was for me. It was just mental, but it was a release. And it was like, we stayed up and it's great. And I interestingly, I think, you know, I probably shouldn't say it like this, but the Arsenal game, I did go to it and I took an Arsenal fan and I was sat with him and he he said to me after the game, he said, Forest now my team. He bought me a present of the City Ground map. You know, he loved the atmosphere. It's just about, you know, I've cried in that stadium. You know,
who hasn't? Who hasn't, Jonathan? Who hasn't?
Yeah,
Everyone has.
You know, I sat in my seat, you know, in the Arsenal game, and I was with my mate, and you know, my dad first got me into Forest, and he died sort of in December 2020, and I don't know why. Before the game, as the game started, I was just in tears. I don't know why, but I just got so emotional. It was just before the game started, and you know, I hugged my mate, and it didn't matter he was an Arsenal fan. I was there with a friend who was sort of looking out for me, and I think you're right. And I think Forest, it's about being the journey this year. It's been just having fun and going to games with, you know, my mates and my son, and it's just been phenomenal. I've just loved every minute of it. Even the Villa game, and I was there, Mr. Dore, and I didn't see it. And you know what? I just enjoyed that. And you know what? I travelled up from Cheltenham on a bus with Villa fans who abused me all the way there and all the way back. But, and they didn't even have any beer in the ground because I was in the top level. There was no beer. But on the way back, the Villa fan felt sorry for me and gave me a beer on the bus, which was very nice of him.
Legend. Right, Jonathan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking time.
Thank you, Mr. Dore, for all you do. You are an absolute legend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Hopefully I'll see you two again next season.
Yeah, mate, fancy dress. I wear it every Friday. I'm a school teacher and I wear fancy dress every single Friday.
Glenn's a school teacher as well.
I think that's where Paul Ryan, you follow on Twitter. He used to be my boss.
Right.
In Newcastle.
Do you wear fancy dress every Friday, Glenn?
I'm a PE teacher, so I wear some sort of fancy dress.
He wears casual kit. I wear fancy dress every Friday. Cheers.
Legend. Thank you. Jonathan, before you go, do you know you've got your tag on? Your top.
This is to show you, mate. This is the first time I've ever worn it, Mr. Dore. This
was it.
I wore it. I kept it to appear on your show, mate.
Legend. Jonathan, I'll see you at Sick Grand or away day, my friend.
You will, mate. See you, Mr. Dore. See you, Glenn.
Cheers. Legend. Okay. Cheers, Jonathan. Legend. Well, it's been a great show so far. We've still got quite a lot of people in backstage as well. So before I do, I've got a super chat from Derek. Thank you for the £1.99 people. And if you do want to help me out with the super chat, because like I said, the new season, I need a new map. I need new equipment as well. So if you want to super chat and support my channel, please do. It helps my channel a lot. Right. Next up, like I said, I do apologize, people. There's quite a lot of people in backstage. We got I'd have to do our show, but it seems like we're not going to do our show. Next up, let's get Mark in. Mark, you ready? Yes, he's ready. Here he is. How you doing, Mark?
Good lads. You all right?
I'm not too bad, my friend. How are you feeling?
Oh, feeling great, mate. Feeling great, like we all are. You know. It's been fantastic.
Who was your? Sorry, Mike. Go on.
No, I was just saying it's been a fantastic ride for the last 2 years, isn't it? Let's face it.
Which player that came in this year has made the biggest sort of impact on the year for you, and who are you looking forward to watching next season develop?
I think we've got to say Morgan Gibbs-White. Without a doubt, he's just getting better and better, isn't he? No, I don't think they're all. You know, there's been a few that have been sort of look. When you have a bit of a scattergun approach, where with the signings, which is what we've seen, you know, and we know what the reasons are. It's a bit boring to go on about it now, but when you look at the players that we've got, you know, it's always going to be some good ones, there's going to be some bad ones, and or not so good, should I say? But you know, we know why Cooper went after him. We've seen that now. You know, he's going to develop him. He's going to get even better.
Yeah. What was your opinion on Mark? I think I spoke to Mark throughout the season. What was your opinion on Steve Cooper? If people don't know,
I love him, mate. I love him. I mean, I've made some comments before. I've been on with Jay and stuff like that, and I've never doubted him. I mean, I can understand why people have doubted the situation because it's been tough, but he did say from the very start, he said we're going to have to suffer at times. And we have suffered. He's suffered. We've all suffered. The players have suffered. But you know what? We come through it. We've come through it. And, you know, why shouldn't we suffer? You know, from what the thing about it is we know now. I mean, look, Luton Town, fantastic I'm from down that way. I'm from just south of Luton, and my son played at Luton in the academy, and it's a great football club. But we know how tough it is in this league, and it's going to be really, really tough for them. Their pitch and their ground, and you'll enjoy it. I know you will, because I know you've been there before, and I've been there. And they'll need their ground. They'll need their ground to create an atmosphere and make it really tough for the likes of Man City, which I'm sure they'll love going there. But look, fair play to them. Fair play to them, because the Premier League is what it is. It gives everyone an opportunity, and we've had that opportunity this season. And listen, I'll tell you something now. I'm a happy clapper. I've been a happy clapper from the start. I was a happy clapper in the middle, and I'm a happy clapper at the end. And we know who them people are that have doubted the happy clappers. We know who they are, and I can proudly say I've clapped all the way, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Mark, you know what? You feel free to do what you want, mate. Ignore what other people talk about.
I don't care what they think. I don't care what they think. I know what I think, and I believed in that man, because how could you not believe in him, what he did last season? How could you doubt him? How could you doubt him?
So
you didn't doubt him. You didn't doubt him.
I didn't doubt him.
You didn't doubt him, not at all. Maybe sometimes. Go on, sorry.
No, sorry, Mark. Carry on. Sorry, carry on.
No, but at some points that maybe we thought, oh my God, this is going a bit wrong, and this and that, and let's look at it. At the end, about I don't know, 6 games ago, maybe 8 games ago, we only had 2 centre halves. We lost 2 centre halves in one game.
That was amazing. That was crazy.
Worrell came in, and all of this, the whole thing, with the academy lads, with Worrell, with Yatesy and Brennan, they are central. They are fulcrum. Them lads have never played at this level before, and them boys have come through, and they're shining stars in our club. They are brilliant lads. They're brilliant characters, brilliant footballers, and they have come through the other side. And we love that. We love that.
Absolutely. With Nico, Danilo, and Brennan now becoming part of the 25-man squad, they need to be finding spaces. Where do you think those spaces are going to come from in terms of the 25?
Well, I think the thing is, we don't know. Listen, he's already said he doesn't know. He didn't want to play the way we've had to play this season, and we've had to play. So we don't know what he's going to do now. We don't know how he's going to have to play. I mean, I can't really see Cooper playing a possession game where we're going to dominate the ball. He loves playing on the counter-attack. The counter-attack is obviously, we've got such fast players in the forward areas. I mean, I'd like to see us with the ball a bit more this season. Let's be honest. I think we all would. It's been a bit difficult at times, but all of these lads. When I said about a scattergun approach and how some of these lads, some of them have not, they've been a little bit disappointing. Some of them haven't had a chance. But you look at Danilo and people like how he's brought these players through. I mean, let's face it. Like I said, the way I've just said I feel about Cooper. He is the man to develop these players, and he's already done so much in such a short time with these new players that we've got. And let's face it, he has no time. He has no time, does he, to time to develop them. He's got no, he's being watched from above, and what he's doing all the time, and he doesn't have a lot of time to do what he's got to do. And you've got to get results in the Premier League.
You're absolutely right. And there's going to be mistakes along the way, isn't there? And there has been in terms of selections and substitutions.
But why should we? The thing about it is, though, guys. I mean, he's only been a first team manager for 4 seasons. Our academy lads. It's the first time. Why should there not be mistakes? Why should there not be mistakes? Why should we expect them all to hit the ground running? They've all come through the other side with flying colours and power to that. And do you know what? I'll say one thing. If I don't say another thing, one thing I will say is when we've just obviously had the anniversary of the playoff final, and all I wanted before that, obviously I wanted us to get to the promised land, right? But all I wanted to see was the players that we've developed, like Brennan, like all these, or like Yatesy, like Worrell. I just wanted to see how they was going to fare up in this league, and obviously, and then this season, you know, with the new players coming in, with them lads, how they were going to fare and how they're going to be next season. How they're going to, because this is going to be a massive learning curve for them. And I think they've come on so far in this season that I can't wait to see how good Brennan's going to be, how good Yates is going to be, and Worrell and all these lads, and Danilo and Taiwo and all that. I mean, they're only going to be better next season, and power to that, power to us. You know?
100%.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more, Mark.
Any more questions, Glenn, before Mark goes?
Yeah, where do you think the key players are going to come into sort of international ways next year? I know Hennessy and Nico and Brennan have been called up for Wales and Morgan for under 21s. Well, how long do you think it'll be before? Do you think next season will be his first call up?
Who's that?
Morgan Gibbs-White.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's only going to get better.
I've got a feeling. Part of my predictions for next
better.
season that he'll if he continues to make progress, I think it's only right that he'll get a little bit more of a shout in that.
Listen, he's not playing in one of the top teams, is he? I mean, we've always, everyone's cast us aside, and we're not. They ignore us, and we're nothing. We're just down there. We should have got relegated, according to some pundits. We should have got relegated, but unfortunately, we've upset the apple cart, and Leicester have gone down, which is a crying shame.
Oh, hey, Jay, Mark, don't mention Leicester because just don't mention them, okay? Because they're getting upset. It is what it is, isn't it?
At all.
Life, innit? It's life. They're down. We're staying up. It's life. It's life. Mark,
build a bonfire.
Mark, it's been a pleasure. I know you've watched my content throughout the season, and I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time and come on my channel and watch the channel as well.
Guys, and you say the right things, and we're all happy clappers. But we don't always go with we have doubt sometimes.
Yeah, but
we're always going to have doubt, But the main thing is, right, we support our manager, our team, our club, the fans, everyone. We're all fantastic. We've got to get behind them, and we all did, and that's what took us over the line. And we're all party to that.
100%.
Stay positive next season as well, Mark. Nice to meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you guys.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you very much, my friend.
Yeah, buddy.
Right, bloody hell. So we've got one. So we've got Adam, Scott, Eve, Mark, Kieran, and Justin next. So people, Justin, don't do in the background. Don't go, please don't go. Next up, we'll have. Let's get Justin in. Is that Justin? Are you ready? He's ready. Justin's ready. How you doing, Justin?
How are you, lads? All right?
I'm not too bad. Where are you from?
Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Melbourne.
Ooh,
okay.
In Australia. I'm not as enthusiastic as Dave at the start, though. I the word.
Hopefully, he hasn't dampened your enthusiasm cussing your city out, mate.
Yeah, that's right.
Justin, as a Forest fan, how long have you been supporting Forest for?
Since 1986, would you believe? I was because it's AFL town, Melbourne. It's Australian rules is a religion down here, and so I support Hawthorn. You can see that in the background. Yeah. But my mates across the road were from Manchester, and they supported Manchester United. And I looked at the paper. I used to get on Tuesday mornings the results and the table. And I was getting into all sorts of sports, but I really loved my soccer. They call it down here, and they were Manchester United fans. And I'm not sure how we finished the league in 1986-87, but Forest were in the top three, and the AFL teams have all got these powerful names like Demons and Hawks and Eagles. And I thought, well, I'm going to support that team that has a little tree there, and it's a forest, and so. That's where it started, and I've just followed them ever since.
Oh, wow. Legend! People in the chat, show some love to Justin, all the way from Melbourne in Australia. People in the chat, where are you watching this stream as well? I'd love to know. Go on, Glenn. You asked the first one.
So you've only watched them on TV. You've not been to Nottingham to see them play.
The closest I've got to Nottingham was Bristol, back in 2000. I was over there with my sister, and And I begged her to go up to Nottingham and visit the city ground, but no, we didn't get that. We didn't get that far. So I've been early days. Of course, you'd only see it. The results would filter through, and we had a Sunday match of the day, and occasionally you'd see Forest. It was always a big occasion for me when we were on match of the day on a Sunday, and you see Psycho and the lads go about their business. But no, I haven't actually been there, but I'm hoping to in the next couple of years get over to the UK and meet up with all you guys, because at my place, Des, Dave, Glenn, and of course Mr. Dore, all celebrities in my house.
No, I'm not a celebrity.
Oh yes, you're a celebrity, Mr. Dore. Because we watch on every Tuesday, we watch the match day vlogs, and I think I've said to you before that it just gives us it's just a great experience to feel your passion and actually have it come across from the UK down to Melbourne, and we feel it. Is just fantastic, because I've got twin boys who are 17, and they love Nottingham Forest, and we get up every 2 a.m, 12 a.m, and watch every match, and we live it. That I think one of the hardest.
If you've got a family that's now, because my dad was at both European Cup finals. I went to my first game age 6 in 1992, I think it was. And I've been, even though I don't live in Nottingham anymore, I'm still very much that thing, whether it's developed through, even with that distance, through the family.
Yeah.
Awesome. So which game would you have liked to have been at today? I asked this to somebody else. If we could just drop you in one of the grounds. The Brentford game.
Not the Brentford game.
Not the Brentford
that was
game.
Absolute heartbreak.
That was
it was absolute heartache.
Yeah.
So I was almost in tears, I think, after that. But just full credit to Forest and for them to dig deep. And I thought with 7 matches to go, we needed to win 3 games to be safe, and they did it. And just that, the relief and the emotion after the Arsenal game was just huge. 2 a.m. or maybe it was even later, it was maybe 4 a.m. in Melbourne, Australia, and me and my boys just jumping up and down, shaking the walls when we made it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we were doing that too. Amazing.
Well, I wasn't doing it.
No.
Just another subject I'm going to say about like the guy Steve Cooper. He's done wonders for the club. Was there any doubts in your mind? There was a certain game, like everyone talk about Leicester, but was there a certain time in your mind that he's done too much, or did you thought he's got to carry on?
I was always hoping that the owner would stick with the manager. I think it's been proven that I think with Forest's history, we only had maybe 15 managers from. It might not been from 1865 to the finish of Brian Clough, but we only had like a smaller amount of managers than what we've had since Brian Clough. It's been something ridiculous, like 26 or 27 managers. Right. And I think that hasn't worked for us. And it's been proven in some of the Australian rules teams down here that sticking with the coach has been a successful ploy, because just sacking after a heavy loss, and certainly, Ben, the Leicester game was one of those ones where you're starting to think, oh, geez, he might axe the Marinakis might axe the manager. But I was always just hopeful, and so when I heard that we'd signed him, I was really rapt.
I think
Steve Cooper.
I think with some of the lengths of the contracts now, Justin, I think there may well be the situation where some clubs have got players from 3 or 4 managers ago with 6 or 7 year contracts. Now it could be 10 managers, right? And that's never a good situation to be in, where you've got managers who are playing, potentially developing players that aren't even in there, they would have never bought in the first place. So it's always that difficult situation, isn't it? Or you get a situation where you've got a manager who then gets dropped with 25 new faces, and the part of the the incredible position that we're in now is that we've got a stronger, more knowledgeable, more experienced 1 year through most difficult league in the world, and they've got that learning experience to take on to the following year, and a far more of a gelled setup going into the next season with a few changes potentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
What about our academy? Is Brazil still there at the academy, or what's going on with that?
Well,
It's not officially been announced yet, has it?
It's not officially been announced, but if what he's done for the club, it's been crazy, and he's done one of the best. He's brought in like Joe Worrell, Brennan Yatesy, and other Forest players in the past as well. So if Brazil,
the monetary value and the progression that they've made with these young men is absolutely incredible, and yeah, he's doing an incredible job, and it would be a difficult job for someone else to take on had they. So yeah, I don't really know much about it, but I'm sure in the next few days and weeks it will be announced for sure.
We'll hear something. Last but not least, Justin, where did you thought Forest will finish in the league?
I think I've got it on record that I thought we'd finish 13th, so I wasn't too far off.
Not too off.
I said Jesse Lingard would be our best player, and I said Sam Surridge would score our most goals. So yeah, failed abysmally.
Legend. I know, like I said, Justin, you do watch much content. I do want to say thank you very much for taking your time.
No, absolute pleasure.
Listen to listen to me and my mug face, as always. But yeah, I do appreciate it a lot, and I'll definitely want you back on my show for the new season starts.
No worries, anytime.
Send us your prediction for next season as well. Just
yes, send it in. Yes, send it in.
We're going to finish first.
Yo, people in the chat, seriously love to Justin if you can. And Justin, thank you very much for taking your time, my friend.
No worries, guys. Take care.
Cheers, dude. That's the legend, Justin, from all the way from Australia. Crazy how the fan base is just. There's one for Forest, there's one for my channel. I do appreciate everyone. Next up is Scott. Scott, are you ready? I don't know what he was doing, but he's ready. How you doing, Scott? Sorry for the wait.
How we doing, mate?
No worries at all. I mean, I had to wait around for this, the last one of the season. So, no, absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Very well. How are you guys doing?
Good, mate. Good.
I'm loving the mixture of guests you've had on tonight. It's been like covering every corner of the world.
This is what this channel's about. We have different people around Nottingham, England, UK, whatever. But before you do talk about this, Scott, you did say you got a video out, haven't you?
Yes, I've just put one out. Yeah, thank you for helping with that. Yeah, I've just put out a video on my channel. It's a ranking or rating of every single Forest player this season. I've gone through and given a bit of a breakdown of their form overall and given them a rating between 1 and 10 based on sort of my opinion of how I think they've been overall. So if there's any Forest fans who sort of fancy checking that out, then yeah, that'd be great if you could. Appreciate it.
Well, listen, what I'll do, people, after the stream, I will put Scott's video in the link in the description. So please do watch out for him. Because like I said, as you know, I like to promote Forest content on here, so I will do it. Glenn, let's start with you.
Along the note of the player rankings and ratings, who do you think your sort of most improved player was? The goal of the season for you, and if you can remember, I'll remind you, the goal-saving tackle of the year for you. So the defensive most valuable moment, if you like.
Oh, okay. I'll start with that one if that's okay. The most improved and the goal of the season, I might have to think about those, but the goal-saving tackle, just because it was quite recently, was Joe Worrell's challenge on Raheem Sterling at Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think he did really well to recover there because he'd kind of sort of got caught a little bit flat-footed, hadn't he? And it looked like Sterling had gone in behind him. But he got back really well. And that's, to me, just summarised the ending to Joe Worrell's season because I think he's been excellent. In that Palace game as well, he was fantastic. There was one challenge he made in that Palace game. I think it was like a free kick sort of halfway in our half. And it was crossed in and it looked like it was going to be a tap-in for Edouard, whoever it was. And Worrell got a foot in there as well. And I think the last few games especially, when we really need to grind out results, of course, you talk about Awoniyi and Gibbs-White stepping up at the other end of the field. But defensively, I think Joe Worrell, for someone who's been criticised as well, and I've been a critic of him as well for a lot of this season, I'll hold my hands up. But I think as of late, he's been fantastic. And yeah, that challenge on Sterling was brilliant, really crucial.
Can I just comment? Do you think, like I said, you just said that you've been critical with Joe. Do you think what he's learnt from the Premier League, do you think he'd be ready for next season or not?
Yeah, I hope so. I think sometimes we forget how young he still is, don't we? Because he's been at Forest for so long, it's easy to forget how young he still is. I don't know if he's like 23 now or something like that. He's still,
like 23,
still really young. He's just been around for so long, so we probably feel like he's older and more experienced than he actually is. But I think he'd be better next season. He obviously prefers to play in the back three. That's obviously sort of where he's stronger, with the sort of other two centre halves around him, rather than in like a back four. When we were in the Championship last season, it was him, McKenna, and Cook. It sort of he worked really well there, so I think he prefers that as well with Felipe and Niakate. So I think that's definitely sort of the stronger formation for Worrell. But I do think next season I expect him to grow and be even better player. And he's a confidence player, isn't he, Worrell? I think when he's not confident and he's maybe had a bit of a bad run of form, it really shows in his performances. And I think at the start of the season, he'd made a couple of mistakes. He had like a wobbly game against Everton away, I think it was. And then you could just see how much it was impacting his performances. The confidence was so low. But he's got that back towards the end of this season. And I hope next season it will be there again.
Continue being captain, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's between him and Yates. I think Yates, I don't know, Yates perhaps strikes me as more of a leader than Worrell does.
Give me the comments. Who do you think is better captain, Worrell or Yates? Get in the comments now.
Yeah, I would be very interested to know what everyone else thinks. Actually, I'd slightly lean towards Yates as a captain, but yeah, Worrell certainly sort of like in that conversation. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think either of those I'd be happy with wearing the armband.
And most improved player, do you think? In terms of perhaps the way they started the season and how they finished, Worrell's got to be in the conversation. Maybe
he has. And do you know what? This was a really interesting one when I was doing my ratings video, because Brennan Johnson obviously has had, I'd say for the most part, a really good season. And you look at some of his goals and how pivotal they've been overall. Of course, as of late, he's perhaps dips in form. And it's been more a 1 year in Gibbs White sort of leading the way. But if you look at some of the goals he scored earlier on the season, the winner at Leeds, the 2 against Everton to rescue a point, and they scored both our goals in that game. The Leicester goals. So I think overall, I think Johnson's made the step up really well. Again, I don't think in recent weeks he's been fantastic. But you're looking at a kid who's still so young, who a few years ago was with Lincoln City in League One, who's now in the Premier League, and we put so much pressure, so much weight on that.
You know what frustrates me? Sorry to put him, Scott. Like, the problem is, like you just mentioned, it, he's been in League One, he smashed it. Chris Hutchinson said he wasn't good enough for the Championship, smashed it. He's playing against the big boys, and the problem is, I said it before the Crystal Palace game. I spoke to someone about it, because he's such a good player. All the Forest fans expect him to do this, and this, and he knows it. He knows it. Like he'll get this pressure, but I think Forest are demanding too much from him. But if you look at it, we've got players like Mo Gibbs White, Danilo, Tabawanni. They've chipped in, so it's less pressure on Brennan now. So, do you agree or disagree on that one?
Definitely, and I think fatigue as well has been a big thing for Brennan Johnson. He's one of the few players that went away and played in that World Cup as well, and I think it's been not necessarily immediately after the World Cup, but it's been sort of in the months since then that I think he started to sort of drop off a little bit. And I think in the last few games he has looked a little bit leggy. Maybe isn't getting back as much as he was before. So yeah, I think overall I'd have Johnson still as my most improved on a whole of the season. And like you said, Dore, I think we put far too much pressure on a youngster to lead the way. And because he did score a couple of goals earlier on in the season, I think then we put even more pressure on him, because he was like our leading man. And the one you went out injured and whatnot, so it kind of became like, at one point it was sort of like if Johnson doesn't score, we wouldn't score at all. It was sort of like Johnson was scoring the goals or no one else was. So we did put a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and I think he's coped with that for the most part really well. And I think a decent pre-season and a good rest sort of over the summer, and I think he'll be brilliant again next year. There's already talk about a big price tag being slapped on his head. So if you can keep
everyone's got a price. Everyone's got a price. That's the thing.
Yeah, Yeah,
so
definitely.
Last question from me, Scott. Which game do you think over the course of the season, obviously the massive learning curves of the progression the players have been making, was the one for you where the metaphorical stabilizers came off and we were sort of flying and we weren't making those such large, significant errors? Perhaps the Fulham's at homes and the Fulham away and the
sorry, a game where it sort of went wrong.
Game where you thought that it was starting to gel and we were starting to make that kind of fewer errors and mistakes, and we sort of the players seemed to fit and belonged. They were talking about belonging for a number of months, weren't they? A number of matches. Where do you think that changed, or do you think it hasn't quite happened yet? Do you think that's
I think the Liverpool game. I know one of the guys you had on previously spoke about the Liverpool game being a big turning point. I know we still ultimately lost that game. But that was, I don't think we'd scored 2 goals away from home until that point, had we? I think we'd scored I think we'd only scored sort of like 7 or 8 goals away from home all season long. Right. And then to go to Anfield, which is obviously a fortress for Liverpool, and score 2 goals. It was the first game where I think it was one of the first games where in my post-match review video I was saying there was actually some fight, and it was really nice to see us go there and fight. And again, we lost that game ultimately, but there was some fight. And I think then we came back at home after that and we beat Brighton. Or there was a game we won the next game after that, I think, at home, didn't we? And it just seemed like seemed like a bit of a turning point, I think. So yeah, I'd say that Liverpool game I think was quite key for us.
I've got to agree there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it seems to be playing. Although there were the 3 sort of set piece errors, and arguably had we had a bit more of a solid kind of back there, we may well have not made those errors. And certainly for my predictions for next season, which I'll no doubt talk about in the next few weeks, those sorts of errors away from home are the things that are going to be the biggest sort of change up for next season, where we get fewer points from winning positions against us in terms of the games that we throw away, arguably the Brentfords, the Chelseas, where we could have got a bit more out of it, and the sort of perhaps a draw or maybe even nicking a win away at Anfield. Definitely.
Any more questions, Glenn?
The answer to the first question, then, we've done the most sort of the player that's made the most progress and the defensive moment of the season. What was your goal of the season?
I was watching that. I saw Forest posted on their official YouTube today, like the goal of the season, like nominees, and I was watching through them all. And do you know what? It might be a bit of a strange one, but I think the Chris Wood goal against City, as strange as it might sound, I just think the build up of that goal is probably more impressive than the actual finish itself. But we haven't really played football like that a lot this season. We've had moments, Gibbs White's created some really good goals. Danilo's had some really good moments. Johnson, Awoniyi. But there was something about the fact we just built from the back with that goal. And if you watch sort of like the whole sort of like 1.5 minute video or whatever that just shows the whole sort of possession and play that goes into it.
With Colin Frey's talk over the top, that was a special one, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And to do it against a team like City as well, who are normally so compact and well organised. The link up between Johnson and Gibbs White on that wing, and then the ball across the face for Wood. So I think that, and again, that also was a bit of a key moment, a turning point for us as well, because that came at a time where we were losing a lot of games, if I remember correctly. So getting that point at home against a mammoth team like City, I think was really key. And that goal, I was talking about Chris Wood in my video and how he hasn't done a great deal this season, but if he goes down for just scoring that one key goal against City, then it's kind of like it's worth its weight in gold, isn't it? If he does nothing else,
exactly.
It means so much, and that point is massive. You're looking at the table and how sort of tight it's been down there. That 1 point we rescued against City through that Chris Wood goal has turned out to be huge. So
for me, that goal was a very much parallel of the Graben goal at Fulham about 3 or 4 seasons ago that started right from the back and went all the way through the team. It's not necessarily the strike from 30 yards or the individual brilliance. You can argue the Leicester goal that Brennan scored, where Morgan flipped over his head and then whipped that outside ball into his path, or the goal at Arsenal or Leeds, the strike from Johnson. But that goal for me, because it involved all the team and the opposition and the fact that they sat back so much and gave us the opportunity to go forward on that, That was my goal of the season for sure. And even though it was a tap-in, it was a team goal for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last up, Scott. Last question I asked you before. Where did you thought Forest will finish?
What did I say? I
You
think
forgot already. You forgot.
I have. And I made a video as well.
Behavior.
I know. I apologise. It is appalling for me. I think I said we'd finish 12th, maybe 12th or 13th. I think I went for. Which, yeah, it's a few places off. Funny enough, that I've just seen something on Twitter that said if there wasn't VAR in the Premier League, there was they reshuffled the table.
Really?
And I think they're really interesting. And I think we were one of the few teams that actually would have jumped up a few spaces. And there was other teams that would have dropped down. And we were one of the ones that would have actually climbed up. I think it was 2 spaces, so we would have been 14th or 13th or whatever it was if it wasn't for VAR. Not that matters, but
next season, what do you think?
I think we'll have a really good season next season. I do. I really do. I think it was was it Sheffield United a couple of years ago who had they had a similar thing where they just stayed up in the first year and then the season after they finished 9th, or they had a really good year.
I think it was that what game was it? The Aston Villa game that messed up for them. I think it was playing they're great, but they didn't have VAR that time because I think there was a goal that was disallowed that should have been, but you never know.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to play Sheffield United now. I cannot wait.
I think we'll have a good year next season. I really do. I could see us finishing somewhere I don't know. Why not mid-table? I know it's ambitious, but we've done the important thing this year, which is staying up. The players that we've got are only going to get better. They've got Premier League experience under their belt now. I think a bit of a clear out of some of the sort of players who haven't really impacted the team so much, and then bringing in just sort of more targeted and sort of precise signings who are going to make the team better. When we lost so many players that were on loan, obviously, from the Championship season, so we had to sort of have a complete rebuild. Whereas I don't think we need a complete rebuild now. We just need to add pieces that are going to make the structure of the team better as a whole. So I think some really solid recruitment, and we could be, a really competitive team. And I think this season's felt so long as well because of the World Cup. It's felt really long and drawn out. Next season won't be like this. So hopefully the injuries won't be as big of a factor for us. I don't see why not. I'm gonna go out and say a 10th place finish next season.
No, Scott. I will. When we do transfer business, I'll come back to you. And you can do your score prediction for my next video as well. So you might change your mind.
Hold me to that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Legend. Scott, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And like I said, people, if you can do a massive pay for me, go on Scott's channel and watch his video if you can. And make sure everyone go and subscribe. I will put after the stream. I will put his link in the description so everyone can go and have a check on his video.
Thank you, gents. Obviously, as always, I love the content of what you guys do. I'm going to miss seeing the game day vlogs Dore on the channel.
I know. Me too.
We're going to go back and watch your best ones for the season.
Go watch the best ones. Go back not the ones that we lost. Okay.
Yeah. So what? Just quickly, are you going to keep? What content are you going to do sort of over the summer? Are you going to sort of upload transfer content and bits like that, or
might do? I'll keep people informed what I'll be doing because, like I said, I'm trying to improve my channel and that. But I'll do the usual vlogs and that. But I will be doing new things as well. So I will keep everyone updated on what I'm going to do on my channel. But yeah, watch out for it, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure everyone subscribe to Scott as well. Well, Scott, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for.
Cheers.
Take care, buddy. Have a great summer.
Right, that's Scott. So I've got 4 people in. What I'm gonna do? There's Adam, Scott. There's Adam, Eve, Mark, and Kieran. I'm gonna bring 2 in because time is ticking. We're on an hour and 25 minutes, so it is long. So what I'm gonna do? I'm bring 2 in. I'm gonna bring in. Who can I bring in? I do apologize. I'll bring in Eve in, and I'll bring in Adam in. So Mark and Kieran, you'll be the last ones on, okay? So you 2, even Adam, you ready? Right, here's Eve and here's Adam. How you doing, people?
I'm
fantastic. Okay. Over the moon.
Over the moon. People in the comments, this is Eve and this is Adam. They always watch my channel all the time. I'll start, Glenn. Eve, how are you feeling about Forest staying up?
I'm feeling really, really happy. I was always positive that we would stay up. I was confident a few months ago that we would stay up, and I'm just so happy that we stayed up. So I'm really happy.
Amazing.
What about you, Adam?
Absolutely, just amazed, and I just had so much confidence we was going to stay up. I think the best thing we did was trusting Cooper from day one, and I was thinking, please, Marinakis, don't let him go, please, because if he did, I'm not going to lie to you, I would have lost a little bit of respect for him. But I'm glad he stuck by his man, and and we've got another season in the Premier League.
But Adam, let me just twist it a little bit. What he's done for the club, Cooper's done great for the fact for us, but with Marinakis, right? He's put the money, like I said, in the market square after the playoff final. He wants to build Forest. He's ambitious. He wants to win Forest. He wants Forest to be top. You can't complain. You can't complain about what he wants to do for the club, can you? Though.
I mean, I think it's just one of those where what I meant by that is that it took a gamble. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have to in football, and it can be paid off, or it don't get paid off like those two L teams. I'm not going to mention them, but that's what I meant by that. So no one's bigger than the club. Obviously not. Not even Cooper or anybody. So for me, the way I looked at that was it would have been a bit of a gamble, especially what Cooper's done for us. Got us to the Premier League the first time in 23 years. And there weren't many people out on the market at the time when perhaps think, oh, Cooper's hanging by a thread. But I'm just so glad that now we've got something to push even further now with, and there's progression at the club. We've got players now, like you said, of learning to adapt to the Premier League. And there's so much positivity going around, not just around the team, but the whole fan base compared to how it was a few years ago. And it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Definitely.
Glenn?
So, Adam and Eve, both of you may agree or may disagree. Who's the first signing in on June the 14th when the transfer window opens?
You go first, Eve.
Oh, I don't know.
Is it someone who's already with us, maybe?
Someone who's already with us. I want it to be Dean Henderson.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'll take that. What about Jed? What about Jed Spence?
Yeah, I would like him back as well. Yeah.
People in the comments, right? I see it on social media. People in the comments, would you want Jed? I'm not going to ask Glenn because I know Glenn's answer already. People in the comments, what do you want Jed Spence to be back? Yes or no? It's basically, what do you think, Adam?
I think I've got a few on my mind, and I'm gonna give out 4. Is that okay?
Yeah, make it quick.
Okay, so Dean Henderson, Renan Loddy, and I think we should get in Willie Gnonto, and I think we should push out for James Ward-Prowse. I think we need a good set piece.
The lead player?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I do.
No.
Cause problems.
Sorry, not for me.
Okay.
Your opinion, Adam. Thank you.
No. I'm not saying I disagree with you, Adam. I'm just saying when Forest played Leeds at the City Ground, like he did give what's his name, the right back, with Nico Williams. Some problems, and then Nico Williams went back to the left back, and Sergio Aurier played right back, and after that he didn't really do much, if I do remember. Well, that's me. I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking what perhaps going on behind the scenes at Leeds, perhaps, and I think if he came in someone really positive like Cooper, gets behind his players, and I've seen him play for Italy. When he played for Italy against England, he was absolutely fantastic. He had a fantastic game. So for me, I think it could have been. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors at Leeds. Of course not. It's none of our business. They're going where they are now, aren't they? So. But yeah, for me, that's why I come up with him, because I think there's talent there. He's still a young lad, and I think Cooper could possibly get the best out of him and get that strength in depth. But that's just the way I look at it, really.
Nice one. So, Eve, where did you think we were going to finish this season?
I thought we were going to finish 14th. So
okay, not far away.
And
what about next season?
Same as me, Eve. I think 14th as well.
14 again or higher?
I'd like it to finish a bit higher next season. But I can't decide where I think we'll finish. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think we'll score more goals and more points away from home next season? Do you think that's something we need to think about, or hopefully focus on doing more? Because we've lost quite a few games and not scored as many goals or got many points away from home, have we, this season? So do you think that's something we need to change next season?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll win away from home a bit more next season, and I think we'll get some more points next season as well. So I'm confident we'll do a lot better next season.
Cool.
Adam?
Yeah, I think there's going to be progression next season. Realistically, let's say go for 11th or 12th, round about there. Just build up.
I'll get you to when the season starts. I'll get you to do your score predictions away for it, because I don't want to carry myself away. I'm not doing it, people. Not a chance. Carry on, Adam.
Yeah, you might jinx yourself. But yeah, 11th or 12th, being realistic. I think we just need to build, step by step when it comes to going up the table. And who knows, if we are 11th or 12th by Christmas, we're on a decent run, and we're not many points behind the teams who are in 9th or 10th, then maybe push to those places. But just for the time being, our main target for us has got to be mid-table with a nice cushion above the relegation places.
100%. And last but not least, Eve, what do you think of Steve? I know you met Steve Cooper on the lot. Was you happy when you met him?
Yeah, I was so happy. Because I met Cooper, tried to meet him before the game against Arsenal, and I met him last week on Friday when I was waiting outside the training ground. And when I saw him, he remembered me that I drew a couple of pictures of him, and and I told him that I was going to draw another picture of him, which I'm going to give to him, and he's excited to get it when I've done it. So and I was happy that I met Joe Wowell and Ryan Yates and Brennan Johnson as well. So
you know what, Eve, you know why I'm so happy you met him, because you've met him before Des, and Des Oldham still hasn't met Steve Cooper. So I'm buzzing for that. So what sorry, Des, I don't know if you did. I don't care if you're watching Des, but yeah, he keeps moaning that he's the only one not met him. But sorry, Des. Before we go to him, are you confident for the season, Summers, and that?
Yeah, I'm really confident going into the season. I've just been watching Sky Sports News tonight. The fixtures come out on June the 15th at 9 a.m.
Yeah,
for the Premier League. There will be I'm really looking forward to that.
There'll be a live stream for that, people, so watch out for that.
Yeah, so I've already made predictions for that. I think we're either going to get Arsenal, Burnley, or Crystal Palace. That's just my predictions.
But yeah, Adam, it's been a pleasure. Sorry we got to rush around because time is kicking, but I do appreciate you and both Adam and Eve coming on my channel.
You're very welcome, Ben, and it's nice to meet you again for the first time. And up the Forest.
Cheers, Adam. Cheers. Right, last but not least, we've got two people. I do apologise, Mark and Kieran. Time is ticking, so let's get them two back up on. Hello, boys.
Evening, how we doing?
Not bad, you.
I feel great. Before Kieran, why are you putting my quota on everything? It's mine. What are you doing?
None of our business.
Mark, how you feeling, Mark?
Yeah, feeling great, thanks.
Len, questions for Kieran?
Without trying to kind of redo some of the questions asked this season, how were your thoughts on the overall on the season, Kieran and Mark? What are your thoughts? So start with Kieran, really. How are you feeling at the end of the season? Satisfied with the position, sort of the development of the team, and forward thoughts, etc.
Is my mute on, Mark? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
All right, you just said that my mic was muted. I expected the downfalls this season. We were going to suffer a lot. Obviously, I predicted us be 12th, but I was kind of close, but not as close. But yeah, I expected it a lot. But do you know what? It's been the best season ever for me. For us to be in the Premiership, it's been amazing. Even throughout the hard times, I just knew we would get over the line, and I've absolutely loved it.
Mark,
how about you, Mark?
I think before the start of the season, maybe quite a few of us were a bit guilty of getting carried away.
Yeah,
you know,
me.
We did a lot of talking about who was coming in and how we thought they'd fit in and how well we'd do. I mean, I predicted 13th before the start of the season. But it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. You know, we've had some good patches, we've had mainly bad patches. But I think we've deserved to stop up overall. But I think we said at the start of the season our home form was going to be everything, and it's turned out that way, hasn't it?
Definitely has. And over the last couple of games, that Cooper seems to have selected more and more of the same sort of player, and that team starts to have gelled. Who do you think next season will be coming into that core of 13, 14 that seems to be the starting 11, and perhaps the first 2 or 3 subs?
Go ahead.
Mark. Sorry, what did you say?
So over the last sort of 5 or 6 games, Kieran, we'll address this question to you. We seem to have had a more stable starting 11, and certainly the last sort of 5 or 6 games, there's been the same changes over the last sort of the first sort of hour of the game. Although at Palace there was a few changes with Ayew and Surridge coming on, but the core of the team seems to have been far more solid now. And if anything, if that had been the starting sort of 11 at Newcastle, then who knows where we might have finished in the end, right? But where do you think the changes might need to come in that team to make a solid 11 going, a solid 15 going into next season? Who needs to change, and where those changes, where those positions, for example?
I think it might be more midfield. I think that's been probably one of the main weaknesses this season. You look at last season, I think seeing Garner go was probably a big turning point in our start of the season. Trying to find our set piece taker, the complete midfielder, it's been quite difficult. So obviously we've been poor on set pieces this season. Look at Gibbs White's corners. Majority of the season have been really poor. I think the midfield wise, we do need to get probably another midfielder, maybe another leader just in case. I don't know, Felipe goes or whoever goes in centre half. We do need to strengthen every single position, but I think the midfield is probably the one that we have to go for.
Okay, Mark, how about you?
I think hopefully we've got that little core now and we can hang on to them. So, near Carte in central defence, Morgan Gibbs White, Danilo in midfield, Jono and Tao up front. We're obviously going to need to sign a goal if we can get Hendo. If we can't get him, then possibly is it Likovic. We were talking about him, so goalie. Hopefully we can keep hold of Felipe we can get another season out of him. If we can't, then we've got a bit of cover in Bolly. We've got Omar Richards to come back in. So because it looks like, from what I've heard and read on social media, Loddy's probably off.
Yeah, he's definitely gone.
It was sort of like he'd almost said his goodbyes on Twitter, I think. So I think
he was one of the last players to leave the field at Palace.
So I think we're going to lose him. If you'd have asked me sort of like 2 months ago, I'd have said we need a top class striker. But Taiwo has come good after his injury. He was one of the ones that I singled out early in the season. I said, look, yes, he's a bit raw, a bit rough around the edges, but when he starts, he scores. And, he's come into his own the last few games. So it's like, do we really need a top-class striker now, a world-class striker, or can we just sort of like buy someone else to come in who's sort of like on a similar level? That I was looking at the other day, it's a bit left field and he's a bit old, but Iniesta is available from Kobe in July, and he's going to move on. Iniesta,
ex-Barcelona player.
Yeah, Spanish international. Yeah,
he's 39.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mark,
I'm not as a starter, but as good squad backup. And he's
never. He's fantastic player, but Mark, Mark, I know you've been drinking on this, but
I just wanted to throw that out. It's been a bit left field, you can talk about all the usual suspects,
far left field,
that we maybe like that, but I'm reading a lot of them. There's other teams like Newcastle and that ahead of us in the queue.
Mark, every day we're going to be linked with everyone. So I just don't. I'm like my guy said. Gary Marriott said, "Wait to officially announce from the ground." We're going to hear gossip. Agent will be talking as well. I'm not going to listen to it to officially Forest say it, or John Percy. John Percy is the one. Last but boys. What I think I know you both believed in Steve Cooper. I'm actually curious, what do you think Steve Cooper has got to do next for Forest?
Well, like what he said when he was interviewed by Dawson on the game against Arsenal just after. He obviously wants to implement his style of play. I think this season it's been quite difficult for him to not implement the way he wants to play. And Gibbs White has said it on another video that he did yesterday when he was at a sneaker shop or something. He said about the style of play Cooper wants to play. And it's been quite difficult for us to play the way he does want to play this season. But next season, I think he's not having much time off at the minute, I don't think. I think he's spending time with his family and then he's going straight to work, which is what I like. Because I think pre-season's probably come at the right time, really. I think last season it was very difficult to have that pre-season where he didn't really have a squad. And we had to bring in a number of signings quite quickly and we didn't really have much time. But I think with pre-season, we've got to learn how to keep the ball a lot better. And obviously, he's got to bring in the players that he wants because, all them 30, they're not all going to be his. But I think the pre-season's probably very important for Cooper to see how he wants us to play. And I think it's come at the right time.
Mark, do you echo what Kevin says?
Yeah, I mean, he said, Ante, that he hasn't been able to play the way he wanted. So I think it's a case of him just finding the players to sort of complement the existing squad, the core that he's left with, so that he can start playing that more expansive football. Because I think even me I've been staunch Cooper in all the way through the season. I said at the start of the season, I don't care how the results go, and we might have to go down to come back up again, but he's earned the right to have the whole season. And I said that right at the start, and I never wavered, even when we were at a really low ebb, when we got beat by Leicester 4-0, and, the majority, that's when the majority of people who were calling for him to be sacked were out then. And I said then, I called it on another stream that when the contract offer was removed, and I said, well, have you considered they might have removed that so they can offer him a better contract? And a couple of days later, that's what he got, and he's deserved it for me. But I've just been as frustrated as anybody. Sometimes, we talk about it post-match, some of the substitutions, some of the tactics, some of the formations. But, it's something I said early in the season. He's still learning. It's his first season in the Premier League, and he's learning along with the players. And for me, he's done enough to earn another season now. Give him the war chest, get him to get some players in that he wants, and away we go next season. And hopefully we can finish at least mid-table.
Understand. Before we go, I'll definitely, before the season starts, I'm definitely going to get your Mark's and Kevin's score league prediction as well. But yeah, I'm going to give you 3 more. So I think it's people saying it's 12 weeks before the season starts. Mark and Kevin, make sure you look at who we sign and get your where do you think Forest will finish next season, okay?
Why don't you say yours?
No comment. no comment. I'm not doing it. But I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it before the game. So yeah, Mark and Karen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all your support that we shared on the channel. And yeah, let's can't wait to see you next season.
Thanks, guys. I might see you Notts County for you too.
Yes, we've got people got Notts County as well. So Gary, I need a lift to Notts County because it's too far away from me. So Gary, if you're watching, give me a lift. Thank you, Mark and Karen. I hope I see you a lot next season.
See ya. Take
care, boys.
Cheers, boys. Thank you. Wow, that's been a long stream, Glenn.
That's nearly 2 hours, mate.
Nearly 2 hours. I don't really do 2 hours streams, but because this is the last stream, I thought, okay, I'll do a little bit extra, but it's a bit too long. But Glenn, have you enjoyed that?
I really have. It's been such a nice opportunity to meet some of the guys. Sort of the overriding thing, certainly in the first half, sort of at the first hour, was the impact that you have on sharing sort of the everything about Forest and the City Ground. I live 150 miles away from the City Ground. I still try and go as often as I can, obviously, but I still very much get that feeling that everybody else is sharing around the world, that you bring City Ground right into our front rooms or into our into our hands in terms of the phone that we watch or whatever on. So thank you for what you do, and I've got to echo what the other guys have done. It's been an amazing season, and thank you for sharing it with us. As much as I see you as often as I can and on here,
I try to stay. I try to stay clear from Glenn. I try to stay.
It's definitely something I've got to say, and I totally get that. You're making the Forest family worldwide that little bit closer together, which is amazing.
Just a tad. And as well, people want to. Glenn's done massive things for me. First time I met Glenn. When was the first time we had a conversation, Glenn?
In person was probably
online.
It was during lockdown, wasn't it? It would have been
during lockdown. People don't know. I met Glenn
May 2020, probably 21.
No, it was later than that. It was late. It was Sappy Lamucci days, wasn't it?
Yeah, 21. Or was it before lockdown? No, big pardon. It would have been lockdown. The last game I went to see was the Millwall loss mid-March 2020. And then after that, there was obviously no football for a good sort of 6-7 months, wasn't it? So yeah, so it would have been around that sort of early 2021-22 season.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Glenn. I
really enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
As well, and as well, people. I did say this is my last stream, but I will put some few videos out. I will do I don't know if people remember. I did the Wembley trailer as well. People enjoyed that, so I'm going to do a little trailer. I will put out this week from the start for the end of the season, and watch out for that because I like doing editing, and so just people watch out. Right, we're gonna get going. Thank you for that, people. I do appreciate. Thank you for everyone that has from the start of the season to the end of the season has took the time to watch out for my channel. It's been a pleasure. And like I said, Glenn, I can mention Des, Dave, Malcolm, the lot, Dylan, Steve, Welsh Steve, English Steve. Everyone that took the part to come on my channel and talk about Nottingham Forest, our team we love. We've had a great season. We're still in the Premier League, and another next journey that will be coming. There'll be more content, different kind of content throughout my DoreOnTour channel. So watch out for that because I'm trying to branch it out and that. So if you see anyone who's a Forest fan, check out my channel because I'm obviously different. I am what I am. And people are going to love me, people are going to hate me, but that's what I do for a living. Thank you, like I said, everyone that took part from the channel. Like I said, Glenn, thank you very much again for all the time as well. I'll see you soon, people. Like I said, we're back in the Premier League, and I'm excited for the good times ahead. Peace and love, people. Up the Forest.